All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Webinar Wednesday here at Lulu, the first Webinar Wednesday of October. So we were just talking about spooky season. So if you are into it, if you already have your house decorated and your Halloween costume picked out, let us know. What are you going to be this year? And if you're not into it, let us know about that too. So thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm so happy that you have joined us today. We are talking about email marketing today. So we have a big holiday sales season. Yes, Terezia is excited. I'm glad. So we have a big holiday sales season coming up, but email marketing is important year round. Doesn't matter what initiative or marketing campaign you have going, email is such an important lifeline in doing that. So I hope that all of you are ready. And if you are already email marketing, hopefully this will help you kind of get to the next level. If you're new to it, hopefully this will help you get started. We are recording this session, so if you have to join late or leave early, we've got the full recording. It will be on our YouTube channel, and Terezia has been kind enough to answer questions at the end. So if you find the chat, there's also a Q&A tab, and hi to Benita, and we are started, so hopefully you guys can see us and hear us, but if you find the Q&A tab, you can drop questions in there, and we will take them at the end. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over. So we are here today to talk about maximizing your marketing with emails. As I said, email marketing is such a crucial part of a successful marketing campaign. If you're not doing it yet, then hopefully you will be excited to start after this session. And I'm here with Terezia Barna, who is a marketing strategist with over 20 years of experience. She's worked with major companies like Oracle, Whole Foods, and Microsoft. And for the past 6 years, she's specialized in email marketing, helping everyone from best-selling authors to emerging voices amplify their sales and reach. Terezia is the co-founder of InkersCon, which is a phenomenal organization. They put on a great event, and they have events year-round for authors, so definitely check it out if you are not familiar. Terezia, thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you, Chelsea. Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to meet you. My name is Terezia Barna, and I love talking about email marketing. So I'm excited to spend the next hour with you talking about how to maximize your emails. So who am I? My name is Terezia Barna. As Chelsea said, I'm the InkersCon co-founder, and InkersCon is an author conference for fiction authors. We've been around 6 years. In that 6 years, I've learned a lot about marketing specifically for authors. So my background is 20 years of marketing, like Chelsea said, for big corporations. And I took that knowledge and infiltrated into the author community, which is my passion. So I've learned a lot about how to market specifically through email in the author world. So why email? So I'm assuming you already know that email is powerful if you showed up today, if you're watching this. But I want to go over real quick why email is so powerful. The first point being you are in complete control. You own the information. You do not rent the information like you do from social media. You own their information. So you have complete control over what you are communicating to your readers. It's inexpensive compared to other social media advertising. It's an inexpensive option for reaching your readers. It gives you the ability to customize the reader experience. So if we compare this to social media where you put out a lot of different posts and you really don't control when somebody sees it or if they see it, where with email, you know exactly what they're getting. You have complete control over it. You know when it's sent and who got it. So you are able to customize that experience for your reader. And most important, it has high conversion rates. So let me show you an example of a conversion rate. So I take this from my business partner, Alessandra Torre, who is a New York Times bestselling author. And this is a stat from a few years ago. And this is on the left side, she has 31,000 followers on Facebook. She posted, this is a new release that she has. She posted 13 different posts and got 230 clicks. So fantastic. That's what she did on Facebook. On the other side, she has 29,000 subscribers. So similar to Facebook, but she sent out 2 emails and got 1,800 clicks. So if you just compare the amount of effort to 230 clicks to the effort of writing 2 emails and getting 1,800 clicks. So it works. It works. So let's talk more about it. Let's talk about, why do your readers subscribe? So why are they signing up? The answer is they want to be entertained. They're signing up for the same reason that they read your books. And they read your books to be entertained. So you might write thrillers and really rough stuff that is entertaining. You might write cozy mysteries. You might write alien adventures. It doesn't matter. Your readers are coming to you to be entertained. Why do we send emails? Well, we send emails to establish this know, like, and trust, because that equals sales. So let's talk about how we take the customer through that journey of know, like, and trust, because this is an idea in marketing that is on everyone, not just readers. A user, a reader has to know you. They have to know you exist, right? They have to know your name. Then they have to like what you do. So they like what you're writing. They like your tone of voice. They like your energy. They like the books that you're selling. They have to read the book, right, to know that you're an amazing author. And then we have to get them to that next step, which is trusting you that what you're selling is going to be consistent, and they're going to know and like and want more of it. When you get to the trust phase, that becomes a one-click buyer, and that's our goal. When we get those readers that have gone through the journey through email marketing to the point that they trust us, that they are a one-click buyer, that's when we can feel powerful about our sales. So let's get into the meat of what we're going to talk about today. So these are the questions I work with authors every day on email marketing, and these are the 3 most consistent questions I get from authors. So I wanted to go over those because maybe they're the same questions you have. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is, what do I write in my emails? Like, what do I say? The second thing I talk about is, how do I sell my books without being salesy? So many people just feel uncomfortable that they're pushing their books, right? It's just a feeling that's a little uncomfortable. So how do we do that? How do we create sales without that feeling? I'm going to talk about that. And then third, how do I make sure my email gets delivered? So of course we know about spam. We know a lot of things get caught in spam. So what can we do to make sure that we do everything we can that it won't get caught in spam? So that's what I'm going to talk about. So the first question is, what do I say in my emails? So sometimes I hear this, I'm boring. I don't know what to say. I'm not interesting. All I want to talk about is my books. Or I don't know what to say. So let's talk about how to solve that problem. So the short answer of what you're going to say is everything you're comfortable with sharing. And note that I say in there in parentheses, curated. And we're going to talk about how to curate your messages. But the answer is everything you're comfortable with sharing, and every single step of the book journey, from the inception, the original idea, to your launch, and even after your launch. So this is what you're going to share, everything. So that sounds a little overwhelming, right? And I just said everything. That doesn't help. But let me give you an example of what everything means. These are examples from authors that are currently publishing, and this is what they talk about. And let me tell you, this is random, right? Somebody talks about chickens. Yes, Alessandra Torre talks about chickens in her newsletter, and you would not believe the amount of chicken paraphernalia that has been mailed to her over her love of chickens. Lucy Score, I'm going to talk about her a lot. Lucy Score is a romance author that has an amazing newsletter list if you want to join it. She talks about her koi pond a lot. Now, that has nothing to do with books, but you are now invested in her koi pond and the fish living through the situation, that she brings your readers into her life. Tacos, fashion, purple things, knitting, of course, books. But these are all things you can talk about. So to do this, you need a content calendar. And a content calendar is simply a game plan. It is your game plan on what you're going to send out and what you're going to promote on each email. So of course you want to have a plan. You want to have the strategy of what you're going to say. So to do that, there's 4 steps that I'm going to walk you through. We're going to brainstorm. We're going to reduce it to 4 content pillars. We're going to talk about books, of course, because our goal is selling books. And then finally, you're going to plan your content. So let's talk through that. The first one is brainstorming. So like any brainstorming, there are no bad ideas. All ideas are great. And the question you're asking yourself is, what do I feel comfortable sharing? And what am I passionate about? Notice that last one. What am I passionate about? Because if you're personally passionate about it, your stories about it are going to be so much better and so much more engaging. So you're writing down anything that you're passionate about that you feel comfortable sharing. And I love Post-it notes in this situation. So you're writing them all down. Let me give you some ideas. So books we're always talking about, right? That's always going to be there. But what about life as an author? So this is the first time you wrote a book, your first time you thought you wanted to be an author, the first time you met a reader, your favorite place to write. Anything about being an author is a huge source of content. Don't overlook pets. Pets are huge. Readers love animals. Everybody loves animals. Talk about your pets. What about your inspirations? What inspired you to write this current book? What are your muses? If when you wrote this romance, you thought Chris Helmsworth was in your mind about this character, include that. Share with your readers what your muses are. Talk about your hobbies. This is a big one, and I'm actually going to talk more about an example of a hobby. Holidays, you can talk about holidays forever. Did you know there's a National Bikini Day? Now think about that. How fun would it be for you to say, would you wear a bikini? Even better if you're a man. Would your main character wear a bikini? Are they celebrating? What about that little lady that is a side character in Cozy Mystery? What does she think about bikinis? I mean, you can have a lot of fun with holidays. Of course, Christmas is coming up. As Chelsea talked about, we have Halloween coming up. You can have a lot of fun with that. Cooking and food, if that's important to you. What is important about food to you? What are your passions? Do you make fancy cocktails that you celebrate every release with a new cocktail and a picture of it? Is cooking and food important in your story? Do you have in your story big family events that are surrounded around the dinner table? What about what you're listening to, watching, or reading? So a lot of authors share playlists of music that inspired them to write a current book. Or maybe your muse is from something you're watching, maybe your favorite show. Reader spotlights are wonderful. This is where you ask your readers to take a picture of them with their book and you talk about the reader. How neat to make them feel special and put a face to readers. Q&As are always awesome. This is where you put out a post saying, I'm going to answer all your questions, and you ask for questions and then you answer them in your emails. And if you aren't on social media, make up the questions that you are asked and answer those. And finally, another idea is a top 10 list. Lists are huge, huge. Top 5 reasons I went to LA this weekend. Top 10 scenes from my new upcoming novel. So think through these ideas as you're brainstorming. So now you have a ton of Post-it notes, right? You have a whole bunch of things that you're passionate about and that you feel comfortable sharing. So these are some examples. Notice books are always there, but so are all these other things that this author is comfortable sharing. So you have those massive ideas, right? And now your job is to get it down to 4 pillars. One pillar is always books, right? We're always going to talk about that. So everybody gets a pillar of books. But the other 3 pillars are up to you. And the way you define those is you look at your Post-it notes and what are the topics you can talk about a lot? And those should pop out at you. Those are things that you're passionate about. So in this example, this author is passionate about, she is very character focused in her writing. So she is excited to talk about characters, and she's going to make that a pillar. She's also passionate about quilting. And you might say to me, quilting has nothing to do with books, and it doesn't, but I'm going to show you how it works. And then her last one is fun and jewelry. So the fun things she's doing, as well as she gets jewelry for every new release. And we're incorporating that in her content calendar as a way to celebrate and talk about her release. So now you have the 4 content pillars. And I want to talk for a moment about something that's not related to books, quilting, right? It has nothing to do with books. And how do you talk about quilting for months? And I want to show you how you do that. So you break down that big topic into smaller stories. And every story you tell, I want you to think of as a cocktail story. So that is, you're at a cocktail, maybe you have to go with your partner to a business cocktail party. And somebody says, oh, you're an author. I bet you have a fun story to tell them. And I bet it's a short story that makes them smile. And that's what I call a cocktail story. So this is not a long dissertation. These are short stories that you're including in your newsletter that are cocktail stories, that are fun, that are interesting, but don't require a lot of effort, right? You have to remember you only have their attention for a short time. So instead of in one email giving the full history of the way that you've started quilting and all the fabrics that go included in that, instead what you're going to do is take these bite-sized stories about quilting and include one in each email. And I'll tell you the cadence. But for example, in quilting, she can have a short story about the difference of fabric. And this is interesting to somebody that's a quilter. You're going to have a quilter immediately love you, but also make it so that somebody that has no interest in quilting might go, huh, I never knew there's different types of fabric. What about how I learned? Or there's a big drama, which I didn't know, in quilting, whether you hand quilted or you use the machine. So wouldn't that be a fun story? Like, oh, the drama. What about your history when you started quilting? Applique style is a style of quilting. What about that? What about your favorite quilt? Your inspirations, the fact that you won a contest, your current work in progress. So you can talk about quilting many different ways in short cocktail stories and include those in your emails. Now, number 3 in our content calendar, here's where we talk about books. And this is where we talk about every step of your journey. Remember, I said from inception to past launch, you're talking about your journey. So this is what you're currently working on. Any sales or promos you have going on. You want to list all of these dates down so that you can start planning out that calendar. So you know what your book releases are going to be, what audio releases are going to be, specials. You have all those documented. So you've gathered all that information. And now you're going to plan your content. And remember, I talked about curating, and this is where I'm specifically talking about curation. If you notice on the screen, these are color coded. January and May are the same color as September. February, June, and October are the same color. So we have 4 pillars. So what you're going to do is every time you're going through pillar 1, pillar 2, pillar 3, pillar 4. Then you're starting over and going pillar 1 on and on. So this is the way that you're not talking about quilting for months. You're talking about quilting every 4 newsletters, and it's a cocktail story. And then your next pillar, every 4 newsletters, you're going to highlight her jewelry. And then the next, so you see where the curation comes in. So these are little stories that are happening over a long period of time. And the goal with this is that when somebody sees a quilt in real life, they're going to think of the author that told them about quilting. And this happens so much. And I'll again use Lucy's score with her koi pond. I have no interest in fish. I have no interest in keeping a pond, but somehow with her funny cocktail stories, I am personally invested in that koi pond. And I went to an arboretum this weekend and I saw koi and I thought of Lucy's score. And that's where we want to get with these stories. And you do that over a long period of time with these fun cocktail stories. So this is what it would look like as we're doing. I put everything into Excel and we plan it out. So here's an example of 2 months. And this author is sending out every 2 weeks, so 2 newsletters a month. So in this example, you have newsletter 1 in November. Her pillar is books. Her call to action, meaning what is she selling, is a backlist book. So that is what she's promoting. It's going out on November 1st. And the topic is a Q&A with a hero or heroine. So something to know more about the book, right? We're not just promoting buy this book. We're going to give them a little extra of this Q&A. The next time, column number 3 here is newsletter 2 in November. This time she's talking about quilting, but she's also promoting a book, and it's a backlist book. And she's going to talk in this one, her short cocktail story is why I started quilting. And she's going to tie it to a book. I'm going to talk more about tying it to a book. But the secret here is you're always going to tie it to a book 80% of the time. And an easy way to do this is talk about your inspiration. Because I bet as an author, when you do your passionate hobbies, your mind is also working on your books. So I know from this author, when she quilts, it's a relaxing experience for her, and she's able to brainstorm about her books. So to tie it in, we simply say, when I started quilting, I learned this about myself. I need this mental space to brainstorm. And so that's why I'm so passionate about quilting. In fact, this is the quilt that I was working on when I wrote this book. You tied it together. Now we're in December and her pillar is character. So in this one, she's promoting another backlist book. And she's tying it with my love of a strong female character. So she's going to talk about, remember, this is the author that was passionate about it. She's going to talk about her passion for the strong female main character. Then we're going to December, the last column, and she's going to talk about jewelry. This one, she's not going to have a call to action. She's not going to sell a book. That's totally fine. This is what I call a love message, where you're not selling anything. You're just giving them love. So it's just a fun story with a picture of her new jewelry for her release. Okay, question number 2. How do I sell books without feeling salesy? I get this question a lot. And what I want to challenge you with is a mindset change. So instead of feeling that you're pushing your ideas or your goals or your motivation on somebody else. Instead, if you can think, I am sharing opportunities with them for entertainment. And we've already talked about this is why they're here. They're here to be entertained with stories. So you're simply sharing an opportunity for them to get what they already want, which is entertainment. So if you can kind of shift your mindset, that will help a lot in how you think and how your words come across in your emails. So instead, think of the idea of, are you ready to relax? My books are just what you're looking for, because you're offering a service. You're helping them to relax. It's a different mindset. Now, I want to say 80% of emails should sell a book. Now, 5 years ago, when I gave a similar presentation, I said that 30% of your emails should sell a book. So why did I change so dramatically? And the reason I did is I read a book called Story Brand, and it is all about the fact that humans are attracted to stories, and they will migrate to companies that give good stories. And that's what we're doing through email marketing. Now, so we should always try to promote our books as we're telling these stories. Then it's not shoving a sales emails down. It's a story with, by the way, here's a book, a very different mindset. And remember, I talked about tie every story to a book. So you're telling all these random stories, but you're going to tie them together. And the easiest way to tie them together is inspiration. And if I can preach one thing, I ask that every email have one clear call to action. A call to action is a link, a button, what you want them to do. So every email should have one main call to action. And I get a lot of pushback from this because what has happened in the past is we have emails with 20 links, right? We're used to putting all of our backlist, all of our specials, all of our friends' books. What studies have proven that when somebody has too many options, they often do not choose any option. And what we want to do in our emails is have a very clear call to action that is their only option. There is no other option. That is their only option. So I know it's not possible to always have one email or one call to action per email, but I want to ask you to really reduce the amount that you have, and if possible, make it one clear call to action. Now, you may have that link in multiple areas of your email, but they all go to the same, hopefully, sales page. So think of, instead of buy my book, that phrasing, grab your copy, that latest release, that feeling. How about phrasing it, I'm so excited to share my latest release. If you love enemies to lovers trope, this book is for you. So what did we do there? Instead of saying buy my book, we did two things. We shared excitement and we shared something about the book. We talked about the trope. Tropes are powerful. We know this. So let's right away tell them something about the book, not just by title of the book. We're talking about enemies to lovers trope. So very clear, we're telling them what's involved in the book. How about instead, buy my book, you say, are you ready to be transported into an alien world of adventures of discovery? This book is for you. Do you see how the difference of tone is and how we're explaining something about the book in the same time? Ready to cuddle up with a cozy mystery that's sure to make you laugh out loud? This book is for you. So hopefully you see the difference in tone, as well as telling them it's a cozy mystery, but it's also one that's really humorous. And then Lucy, you know, I'm a fan of Lucy. My dog's name is Lucy. Not for that reason. I met her separately, but I'm a fan. And here's an example of how she promoted her last book in her email. She said, I love this book so much. First off, excitement, right? Because it brings together so many of my interests. So she's telling more about herself personally. Home renovations, behind the scenes DIY reality TV. Okay, so she's telling about herself. She's telling about the book. So if a reader is into those things, right away, they've perked up. Tattooed heroes. Okay, we already know this. And a heroine who is absolutely not falling for any of that grumpy charm. So look at how much she included in one sentence about her book. None of this is saying, go buy my book, right? Nowhere on the screen does it say buy my book. Instead, she's showing excitement and she's telling something about the book, and that is selling the book. So we've talked about the content calendar, and now we've talked about how to sell. So what does that actually look like as far as selling when you're in release mode? So when you're in release mode, this example is December 1st is the new release. And this person sends out twice a month emails. So what would that look like? So October 1st, she'll send out a cover and description reveal. So we know what that is. October 15th, she has a writing story that ties to the current book that's about to release. November 1st, she has pre-order available. So she's doing that and she's highlighting a character. Notice with each of these, there's a different approach to the book. We're selling the same book, but we're taking a different viewpoint of it. November 15th, again, the call to action is pre-order. We want those pre-orders. But she's not going to tell the same story. She's instead going to highlight location or a secondary character to highlight. So again, just a different viewpoint into that same book. December 1st, she's sending out her email that is live. That is the release date email. That's your big one. Again, in that email specifically, you want one call to action, nothing else. And then after the book is released on December 15th, she's going to send an email asking for reviews. So that's a snapshot of what it would look like as you release a book. So let's talk next about if you're releasing plus layering in those personal stories, right? So October 1st, the cover reveal. October 15th, that story is her favorite beverage while writing. So that's what we layered in. On November 15th, we layered in the jewelry that she bought for the new release. And then on December 15th, we layered in her biggest author inspiration. So that's what it would look like when you have a release, but you're also focused on your pillars. Okay, last section is deliverability. How do I make sure my emails get delivered? Spam is a problem, but spam filters are there for a good reason. And they're there to take out any of those emails that are over the top, too much, buy. So we need that in our life. So we just have to learn how to play within those rules of the spam filters. So what I propose you do is you scrub your list. So as you're talking about the spam filters, I like to call them the email gods because I don't know what else to call the algorithm. The deciding point at whether your email address is respectable enough that you will get delivered. One way to help your deliverability is to increase your open and your click rate. And you can do that through things I'm going to talk about. But one way to quickly do that and one way to improve the health of your list overall is to make sure that you do not have people on your list that are not interested. And this can be painful for people because you've spent time and money to gather these. But if they're not opening or clicking your emails, they are not your fans. And we don't need to pay for them. And we don't need them not opening your emails, which reduces your deliverability. So we need to get rid of them. And the way you do this is scrubbing your list. So the first step is you filter out and take anybody that has not clicked on the link in the past X amount of time. I normally do this twice a year, so I take 6 months. If you have not clicked on a link in 6 months, any link, you are not active. You are not engaged. You might not be a real person. This might, So we gather all those people and say, okay, these group of people have not done anything. And then we send them a re-engagement campaign. And this is 3 emails. So you set up an automation and you send them an email. And this is the first 2 emails. The whole point of this is to give them your best stuff and make it super clickable, right? Your whole goal here is to get them to click. It's not to get them to buy, it's to get them to click. So you want to look through your past emails and see what are the things that are most popular. And in these 2 emails, you want to give them the best cocktail stories you have. You want to give them a discounted book. You want to give them something that is going to promote or motivate them to click. So they go through and they get these 2 emails. And then you put in a question. Have they opened? Have they clicked on any of the links in the last 2 emails or anything 6 months before? And if the answer is no, you send them a "Are you still into me?" email. And that's exactly what it is. An email that says, "Are you still into me? I notice you haven't been reading my stuff and I don't want to clutter up your inbox. If you want to stay on my list, please click here." And when they click here, they're back on your main list. So through that automation, if at any point they click on something, they go back to your list. If they've gone through that whole process and they've not clicked on anything, they are removed and they are put into a list that you do not email. People that are not active on your list are reducing your scores, which means it's reducing your deliverability of all emails. So we want to move them off that list so that because they're not active. Some authors will move them off the list and only send it for release day. Like that is it, only release day. And I can agree with that, but you do not want to keep them on your main list. So make this a part of your normal cleaning habit for your list. Subject lines are a big part of spam. That's the first thing. Now, the email gods actually go through your email completely, but the subject line is going to hit you the hardest. So we want to make sure there are no subject lines that sound spammy. And the word free is a red flag. So you can do limited time, bonus, special treat, lots of things. Don't use the word free. And don't use a lot of exclamation points or emojis or extra. Emojis are great. Just use 1 or 2. Don't use a ton. The most popular subject lines or the most effective ones are they ask a question. So ask a question. It can be anything. Are you into summer or fall? Have you fallen for my latest hero? Any questions are great questions. Remember how I talked about top 10 list and top 5 list? These are incredibly powerful for your subject line. So if in your subject line you say my top 5 heroes, those are very clickable. And then always tease what's inside. So not only does the subject line have to match the content, of course, but we want to tease and by tease, make it really enticing for them to open. And then another way that this is good practice overall, but to promote engagement. And engagement by the email gods is that they open it, they click it, or they respond. So first one, you want to make really click-worthy emails, right? That's kind of obvious. So when you're writing your email, you have to talk about that excitement we talked about, and then show them really exclusive deals. Polls are fantastic. They're in any software, email service provider software, and polls are fun. And you can use this for anything about your books, like name a character. Do you want me to write this trope or this trope? You can ask all types of polls, and these are wonderful not only to get engagement, but to find out the answers and use them in your own marketing. And then what I do a lot is the gold standard for deliverability is replies, because by you replying to an email, you're telling your service provider that this is a trusted email. So ask questions and ask for replies. And I would budget once a month to ask a question and ask for replies. For example, an email I just recently sent out was a picture of me holding a Frosty from Wendy's. If you're a fan like me, they're delicious. So I held my Frosty and I was in front of the sign at Wendy's that said it was $1. And I put in, this is my treat. That's how I tied it in. This is my treat for doing this project. How do you treat yourself? And you would be amazed by the replies I got. The thing with questions is you want to ask an easy question. You want to make it very easy for them to write back. So for example, one author put, who's your favorite superhero? And people replied, and it was an easy reply, right? You can type in Thor, Spider-Man. Now with these, I'm asking you to reply to each one. So each one you want to reply to. You'll be able to copy and paste a lot of them, but it's so important that your reader feels your energy and feels the response, and that will promote more and more engagement. Finally, you can ask for whitelisting, and whitelisting is wonderful to ask for in your welcome automation. So in your welcome sequence, when they first join, one of the emails I have is to ask for whitelist. And this screenshot shows it beautifully. This is specific, I think, for Gmail, where it shows how to take it out of the promotions tab and slide it into the primary tab. And that will make sure that you're delivered in their inbox. So teaching your reader that they have to do this, they have to whitelist you so that you'll always get my emails. So making sure that you give them information that how they can whitelist. And then segmentation. segmentation is a beautiful thing. And let me tell you, for example, for what segmentation is. So if you imagine this big group of people, right? You have your thousands of those subscribers. You're going to bring out a small group of them who have like interest and pull them out. And when you send a targeted email to somebody where you know their interest, you have a much higher engagement, much higher click-through rate. It gets delivered better. The ways you can segment or group people is by retailer. So for example, if somebody is in KU, they're motivated differently than somebody that's willing to pay full price and buys 2 books a month, right? Very different users. So you can target, if you have a special in KU or you're just now launching into KU, you can have it only by the retailer. Very different than somebody that purchases through Google Play. Another way to format is based on how the reader actually consumes the media. So are they an audiobook listener? Do they read ebooks? Are they a hardcore paperback fan? Very different, and you can send different tailored messages to them. For example, if I'm an audiobook reader, I'm not going to open or click a special in KU. It's not for me, right? But if I get an email that's, hey, in the subject line, audio available, right? Hopefully a little said a little nicer than that. That's much more enticing for me to click because you know I'm an audio listener. Another way you can segment is on frequency. So you can ask your readers, do you want to hear everything from me? Or do you just want a monthly summary? Or do you only want to hear sales? Or if you write in multiple genres, you can say, what genre are you into? Are you into my cozy mysteries? Or are you into my hardcore thrillers? Very different audience, right? So you can segment based on that. So in recap for deliverability, scrub your list, right? Keep it clean. Make sure your subject lines do not contain spam red flags. Ask for replies. Ask to whitelist. And then make sure you can, or get yourself in a place where you can start segmenting users to make it even better deliverability. So I shared a lot with you, and I'm hoping that these are the 3 things that you retain from this amount of information. Number 1 is share everything with a plan. So be open, make them love you. That's your job, right? To get them inspired and to love you as a person and you as an author. And your readers want entertainment. That's why they're here. That's why they signed up for your email. So give them entertainment with cocktail stories. And then finally, don't be afraid to sell. Don't be afraid. That's why we're here. That's what we're doing. That's business. But instead, do it with excitement and friendly suggestions. Just a different mindset. Now, remember from the beginning, I talked about InkersCon, and I'm so excited to offer you a coupon for $50 off our InkersCon 2024. So welcome to go to inkerscon.com and use that coupon code, and it will save you $50. You can get instant access to over 30 classes just like this one. Now I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm excited to answer your questions.
Terezia, thank you so much. That was such a wonderful primer on all things email marketing. If you are here, if you're lucky enough to be listening to this today and you are not familiar with email marketing, you really ran the gamut. There were a couple of questions that I had on my list to ask, but you really hit them all. So thank you so much. I think this is just a tremendous overview of everything you need to know. And I didn't really know the free tip. Don't put free in your email subject lines because you want to let people know that you're giving them something for free. But then when I think about it, I'm like, yeah, those are the emails I don't want to click on. They do seem inherently spammy. So good tips there. That's very good to know. So I want to go back to the beginning. If you are just kind of getting started with email marketing, do you have any tips for how to build out a list? How do you get those email addresses?
Absolutely. So that's the hardest question, right? How do you get these people? And the answer is a lead magnet. You have to have a lead magnet. So first, to start off, you would have a website that has some type of sign up for your newsletter straight, that if they Google your name, they have a way to get on your newsletter list. But the best way to do that is to have a lead magnet. And a lead magnet is something for free that you give in exchange for their email addresses. Most people do a free book. So first in series is always fantastic, or it can be a novella. But remember, with this lead magnet, you want to attract cold people. And cold people are ones that have never heard of you or your books. So you want to offer them a complete story. So that can be a novella. It doesn't have to be a full story. But do not offer an extended scene or epilogue, because your reader hasn't known you. They're not invested in the story. You want to prove to them in this lead magnet that you can give them a complete, satisfying experience. So offer that free story, and that in exchange, you get their email. And this is done through BookFunnel. BookFunnel, this software is for that. It's perfect. So people are used to this process. They know it. And then where the money comes in is the email automation when they sign up. And that's where you welcome them into your list and nurture them and make them feel loved and teach them all about your books, because you've already qualified them, right? If they downloaded the lead magnet, they're interested in the type of book you sell. So you've qualified them.
Perfect. Yeah. And then that whole theory of reciprocity where, if you give something, then people want to give you your email address. So it's easier to kind of get them, I think, as you mentioned, when you're offering something back of value. And so Donna's asking, is there a way to get handouts, or you had so much great information? Do you have any of this available, or what would be the best way to get this information after?
Yeah, I have, I'm happy to provide the slides. Absolutely.
Great.
And then if you go to, I'll put it in chat. Let me see if I can do this live. If you go to my website, I actually have a 3-day content calendar lead magnet myself, because I follow my own advice. And it's 3 days of videos on how to create your content calendar, just like I talked through, but I go into much more detail. So that's a great way if you want to sign up for that. That's another way to get the information.
Perfect. Yeah, well, good to know that you practice what you preach. Encouraging. All right. And Ellie is asking, do you have any examples of a message asking for reviews without being pushy? So good question. Any tips for that?
So I always first like to include 2 reviews. So in that email, I'm going to screenshot 2 reviews. And the way that you pick those reviews is you want to review not that just says this is the best book I ever read. Like, that's a wonderful thing to read, but you want to find a review that tells something about the book. So a better review would be, this is the best enemies to lovers book I've ever read. Right away, right? It tells you something. So I want 2 screenshots of good reviews. And then I want to, and if you don't have any, ignore that part. You'll get there. But then you would say something like, reviews are what are the lifeline of how we get new readers, and new readers enjoy and embrace me. So any amount of reviews you can do would be fantastic. And here's the easiest way to do it. So a true message from the author saying, these really matter. I read each and every one. It makes a difference to me. And here's how you do it. Going with that approach, people want to help you. And when they understand that it really is important, they're more likely to help.
Perfect. All right. And Ikping, and I apologize if I'm butchering your name, but they're asking, do you have any tips for getting over the fear of selling to readers? I really liked your tip in this session of change your mindset, like you're offering something of value. So can you kind of talk a little bit more about that? And if you are in that position of, it is terrifying to ask people for, their hard-earned money to buy your book. So what tips do you have there?
This is brutal truth. Brutal truth. Okay, you ready? You're in business. You're in business. This is a business. As much as you're passionate about your books, this is a business, and you're here to make money. Just like any business, you have to ask for the sale. Just like if you walked into a dry cleaner, let's say today, and they're like, hi, I hope you're having a great day. Did you see these flowers? Aren't they beautiful? Just browse, do anything you want. No, you want them to say, great, how can I help you today? What are you cleaning? Let me show you right? You walk into any location, you want them to support you, and you came there for a reason. So it is business. You absolutely have to ask for the sale, and it will get easier with time. But instead, another tip that I use is my Ruthie tip. So I have a best friend named Ruthie. And all of you watching today, Chelsea, everybody has a super fan. And this might be your best friend. It might be your sister. It might be your mom. It will be a reader one day if it's not already. And what I do is write my emails to Ruthie. So everybody here today, I want you to pick that person that you know when you tell them something, they're like, yes, that's exciting. Tell me more, right? We all have that person in our life. If you can write your emails to that person, as opposed to this nebulous thousands of people that you're writing to, it's going to sound so much more personal. Mm-hmm. And when you're selling to your friend, it's a little different, right? You're not telling Ruthie, like, go buy my book. You're saying, I've worked 10 years on this book. I'm so excited. It's a different approach. So I hope that helps.
Find your Ruthie. I love that. I think that's a great tip. And so when you are starting with email marketing, obviously on the back end of it, there are a lot of different metrics that you can look at to try to measure the success, but it can seem overwhelming when you are looking into it. So do you have any tips for people starting out? How do you know if it's working? What would you look at in the beginning?
Perfect question. So there are a ton of metrics. You only need to care about a few of them. So open rate is not that specific. Open rate, since there's been some changes in the laws and privacy, we can't tell exactly who opened it. What you can do with your open rate is look at trends. So if you see all of a sudden this email was lower, we know something was wrong either in the subject line or the content, so we can address it. This one's higher, great. But don't look at it's 26 to 28%. Don't worry about that. But with your open rate, I'd like you to be at a 20 to 40%. That is good. So if you can try to get your open rate there. The only thing we can truly measure is clicks. So you want your click rate, that's people that clicked on it, to be between 2 and 6%. So remember, that's a low number. And people are like, what? That's why we have to have a lot of people on your list, because a good open rate is 2 to 6%. So that's just part of getting people through the door, right? So if you can keep an eye on those two metrics, the other metric, if you're starting out, that I would look at is how consistent you are. Mm-hmm. So the metric needs to be, I am sending out what I promise my readers. And if that's once a month, twice a month, once a week, whatever it is, are you being consistent? Because I would rather you send out consistently and work on the metrics and everything else later, but you've got to establish that relationship with your readers. So are you being consistent would be the third metric I would look at.
Yeah, showing up and getting the content out there. And with your 4 pillars, I thought, when you say all of your life could be content, I'm like, wow, your life seems so much more interesting when you think all of it could be content. But I love the pillars and planning the calendar out so that you're not talking about knitting or coil ponds every single week. You have a system set up for that, and that can help with consistency as well. So thank you very much for that. And we got another question. So for ESPs or email marketing software, is there one that you would prefer over another, or any tips or insight into that?
Oh, I am passionate about MailerLite.
Okay.
MailerLite is my jam. I work with clients on all different topics, all different email service provider, and I found that MailerLite is the most simple and easy to understand. It's very intuitive, but also I pay for the premium version, which starts at $10 a month, and their email support is so fantastic. So even if you don't understand it, their support and answering questions makes it worth it to me over all the different providers. But most providers can do all the same things. So even if you're using Wix or different things, they'll all do the same type of things that I talked about today.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I know that there are a ton out there, but we always appreciate a recommendation. So sorry, I think that link looks kind of funky, but if you Google MailerLite, you can find it. All right. And I will do a last call for questions. Terezia, anything else that you want to share? Where can the folks find you? I know you dropped in your website, but anything else you'd like to share today?
Yeah, I would love you to join InkersCon. It's my passion. I love it. If you would like to work with me personally, I always accept new clients. So you're welcome to book a time on my website. I work one-on-one with authors, and obviously I'm passionate and love every bit of it. So I would love to talk to you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I don't see any other questions. MailerLite. Yeah, I think, Jan, that you've got the spelling, or it might be Lite. So yeah, pop that into Google. It'll come right up. Terezia, thank you so much for your time and your insight and your knowledge. This was a wonderful session, and I think everybody here can learn a lot from this today. If you haven't started with email marketing, this is such a great primer and overview of what you need to know. If you're already email marketing, surely you can improve it with this information that we shared here today. So again, thank you all for joining us. Thank you for your time. Terezia, thank you for your time. And I hope that you all have a wonderful day, and we will see you next time. So we'll sign off for now.